And it's a pleasure to serve on your chairmanship, which I've done for many, many years, so it's a pleasure again today. Many of us in this room are parents or grandparents or godparents to children. And the bit that's so amazing about this petition, which is we're debating today, is for such a rare condition, how quickly over 100,000 people said we have to do something about this. Now, petitions come and go, Sir Roger, but actually, if you only got to look at the photographs of what this condition does to human beings, you've only got to Google FOP and look at what the videos on Facebook and other things, where it's had such a devastating effect on people's life expectancies and their loved ones. And for me, every child deserves the chance to have a childhood. Every child. But this condition, to all intents and purposes, removes that. It is a life-damaging, life-reducing condition, which is so rare that, as my colleagues have just said, very often, when it is presented in front of top physicians, top consultants, some with over 30 years' experience, they've never seen it before. And in my constituent situation, Lexi and Dave, when they first saw Lexi, they already had a lovely child, Ronnie, who's now 3. And they looked at the child, like we all did when we searched for our grandchildren or our first child, or any of our children, and they, as parents, said, there's something wrong. When they said to the specialists, the doctors, there's something wrong with her feet. And she was told she had bunions. This is a newborn child. And quite rightly, they questioned it. And they questioned it and they questioned it. And in the end, Lexi was probably the youngest child in this country to be diagnosed with FOP. And then she joined, which is now the Friends, FOP Friends. And the community has been formed to try and do 2 things, Sir Roger. One, to actually understand how this and why this progresses and to stop that movement going forward. I'll come back to that in a second. And then for other parents that are going to have children, to try and understand how you don't have a child with a genetic change at conception and actually allow things to be addressed. That research is only being done in one place in this country, Sir Roger, and it's been done at Oxford, the Oxford University, and it's purely funded by FOP Friends, purely funded by them. And they've worked with their colleagues abroad in Pennsylvania and around the world, which is, we don't really know around the world how many children are born with this. They are born with it. It happens at conception. We don't really know, because in other parts of the world, they don't even understand what FOP is. There is a really dynamic specialist in America that has worked with the families over many, many years. And in America, there are groups that come together from all over America. I saw a video of them barn dancing together only the other days. But actually, many of them are frozen in their skeleton. And I circulated earlier on to colleagues some photographs. Those photographs, if anybody's got a heart in this country, are heartbreaking. An 8-year-old child in those photographs, just 8 years of age, that has a deformity in her spine, which is frightening to the parents. And what we need to do, perhaps, is say to the government, from across this House and from across society, the government are doing wonderful work, governments have done wonderful work, but the government in particular are doing wonderful work in this area of rare diseases, rare conditions. But this is so rare, it falls out the bottom. How can it be right in this day and age that we have to fundraise? And there was a wonderful fundraising event at my local football club that was done by my local Hemel Hempstead Town Football to raise money for the research that the NHS is going to benefit from. And as it was said earlier on, Sir Roger, this has knock-on effects into other conditions as to how bone structure grows and how it doesn't grow and why it grows and where it grows. But in these conditions, we have a child, that's my constituent, that is probably never going to crawl. She'll probably walk before she crawls. She's never going to have that experience. Their parents are going to never have that experience of saying, where has she gone? Which we've all had it with our children when they've been crawling away and exploring life. Because her neck is now starting to freeze at 10 months of age. So what I would say to the Minister is that we can go into great detail, which my colleague did in great detail, about the different types of research. We can go into the different things as to why we can't do it. And I'm sure the Minister will turn around and say, well, I can't give a blank cheque. Let's see what the research can produce. But until we know how much money we've got for the research, we can't actually say what can be done. And what I can say, Sir Roger, is there was a small group of us in this House today, and my colleague, honourable colleague for South West Arts, couldn't be here with us this afternoon, but I know he wanted to be. And I've spoken to lots of colleagues across the House, and we are not going to go away. And depending, of course, on what the Minister says, and she may shock us all and write a blank cheque for us, but actually I fully understand why she won't, but actually what we do need some progress. We need to say that these children are so important that no matter if there's 1 in a million or 500 in a million, these children's lives and their futures is important, so that they can possibly see some light at the end of the rainbow. These parents are doing everything they can for their loved ones. Isn't it about time that the government and us in Parliament did everything we can for these children? And by the way, Sir Roger, I think we probably need to fill the House of Commons, main chamber, on a debate on this subject, because the more people that hear it, understand it, see the photographs, see the distress, and seeing children having their childhood robbed from them when they were conceived, the more chance we might have of getting the money in the 2 areas we need for the research. Thank you very much, Sir Roger.
Ian Paisley.
Thank you.